What's up, Bass Blasters? John Cruz here, and it is always Mini Flip Jig time. Now, I say that because over the last number of years, the Mini Flip Jig has become like one of my go-to baits anytime I'm pitching and flipping hardcover, especially boat docks. And you know, this is the Mini Flip Jig right here. It's a jig that I designed with Mike Iaconelli brought the concept to me, and he and I collaborated to make this thing into production. This is the half ounce. There's a quarter, a 3/8, and a half ounce size. I'm just going to focus on the half ounce size because that's the one that I fish with the majority of the time when I'm flipping, you know, truly flipping and pitching. Anytime, like I said, anytime around hardcover, laydowns, you know, other type of wood, brush does real well, docks. This bait skips really well. I'm going to show you my go-to trailer and my setup and how that all works together, and then I'll show you into my Mini Flip Jig box and talk about some of the colors as well. But first of all, my number one trailer, and the one that I use 90+% of the time, is just a Missile Baits D-Bomb. I use the baby D-Bomb a little bit, but I usually just take the full size regular D-Bomb. And like I said, this is the half ounce in bruiser, and we're going to start with just the bait before I go through the whole setup. So here's a matching bruiser D-Bomb. The first thing I'm going to do is take the body and cut it just about in half. I'm going to cut it just about in half, and then you can see that some of the rings are left on each side, and I'll just go in there and I'll trim up some of the rings on each side. And what I find is it helps the trailer thread on easier. So I've got it about that big, and then I'm going to thread almost the whole body through when I put it on. We'll go right in the middle. I'm going to thread almost the whole thing right on there, and then it's going to slide up. It's got a little keeper on there, and for most fishing that's good enough. But if you're going to be skipping a lot of docks, I would just slide that back, put a little drop of super glue on there, and slide it back up. And so that's what the bait looks like most of the time when I'm fishing it. That right there, 90+% of the time, I'm going to have Sunline Shooter 20-pound test fluorocarbon as what I'm going to be tying it to, and I'm going to have that on a 7-foot 6-inch Cashin medium heavy flipping stick. Not a heavy action. I want a medium heavy action. And what that does two things. It allows you to cast it easier whether you're pitching it, or I can take this rod right here, sidearm roll cast it, and skip that thing about a mile up under docks. And then we'll have a Daiwa Tatula 100. This is a 7-to-1 reel. You can use an 8-to-1. That's not a big deal. I usually just go with the 7-to-1. That's kind of my setup there. That reel casts really well. Helps a lot with your not so much with your flipping, but when you're doing that sidearm roll cast and letting that bait skip a mile up under those docks or overhangs or anything like that. That's where you can take and put that there. And usually I'm going to try to put this thing into the darkest, deepest areas I can find. You know, the furthest I can get up under a dock, into the thickest portion of a laydown. I'm going to throw it into the gnarliest of brush piles if I can find those. And that's what I use right there. You don't need to modify the weed guard or anything. It just like it is, just like it comes out of the package. And when you get a bite, you're just going to reel up all your slack, and then put the wood to them. You'll have no problems. Try not to get in the habit of setting the hook on slack. You'll have a lot higher landing ratios. But like I said, this is the bruiser color. It's probably my favorite all around anytime the water's a little bit dingy. But I've got a couple of the other colors that I fish as well. And the other, probably my number 2 is the Bammer Craw. It's this green pumpkin with orange on the bottom of it. That can be a really good color in a bunch of different situations, especially early in the spring, but really kind of all summer. And then my next call is probably green pumpkin. The green pumpkin is great whenever the water's a little bit clearer, or you got real sunny conditions. You feel like the fish are looking at your bait real well. And then the other one is that anytime you're around that shad spawn and the bank's a little flooded, we got this color called soft shell, and it is truly a shad looking color. I'm gonna put a any kind of color trailer on there, believe it or not. Bruiser looks good with it. Green pumpkin looks good with it. Green pumpkin flash. A bunch of different colors look good with that, but that's probably what I'm going to go to anytime it's post spawn and the shad are spawning and there's still a lot of flooded brush or bushes or docks or anything like that. Those are kind of my top colors for the Ike's Mini Flip Jig. And like I said, anytime I'm going to be fishing hardcover, you can promise I'm going to have this rod rigged just like this, and I'm going to have it inside of that rod locker or on the front of this Bass Cat lid right there. I'm going to have it right there on the lid, ready to go. So that's my full Ike's Mini Flip Jig Time setup. And I can tell you that, all right, so mini flip out, what's the difference? I got one tied on right here. This is the flip out. This is the big boy. This is a full size jig. It's a 5/0 hook, and it's a beefy hook, very strong. You can, I throw it a lot of times on 25-pound fluorocarbon, very heavy, and it's got a full size, full regular strand skirt. Now the mini flip has a smaller hook, a little bit lighter diameter. I'll still use up to 20-pound test, and you shouldn't have any problems with that, but you can see it's just a smaller profile when you put them side by side. Get the mini flip right here and the flip out right here. By the mini flip being a little more compact, there's finer cut skirt hair on there. It's just, they call it frog hair, but that more compact. Both they're a 1/2 ounce, but this thing being more compact, if you put a trailer on it that has some surface on the bottom, D-bomb, baby D-bomb, whatever you want to slide on there. I trim down the D-bomb a lot of times. It skips better than a bigger, broader jig. When that weight is displaced and you have that bigger skirt, it's not going to skip quite as well, I feel like, as that smaller, more compact jig. That thing skips under boat docks really well, really easy. You can skip cast it, skip pitch it, or you can sidearm roll cast and get that thing way up under places, and then your hookups are going to be really good because it's got that 4/0 hook. It's got a big wide gap, but it's a smaller, like I said, easier to penetrate. And then the flip outs when I want that bigger profile. They both have their place in time. As you can see, this flip out, I fished it just recently, and the head is totally gnarled up. A zillion teeth marks all over it, as you might expect when you go blast a bunch. But that's the big difference between the mini flip and the flip out. When you want the bigger profile, flip out. When you want the little bit more compact, a little more subtle, I'm going to go with the mini flip. And of course, we have all the different colors that you might need. You want more of the green pumpkins and the more natural colors. In that clear water, dirty water, you're going to have more of your bruisers and your Cali Loves, things like that. So hope that helps differentiate between the flip out and the mini flip.